Good morning.
Good morning.
It's October 12th, 2025. The tentative title for this talk is This Moment Itself is Mind. You might recall that because we just chanted it. It's one of the lines in the 12-line Kannon Sutra. This moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. It's the most basic teaching in Zen. It's right now. It's just this. Here it is. And yet, of course, we miss it. We struggle. Just chanted Master Hakuin's chant in praise of Zazen, recited it. There's the line, like one in water, crying I thirst. Looking for what's right here. We hear this teaching in so many ways. You get tired of hearing this teaching. But it needs to sink in. We need to get that basic move. Stepping out of our dream and back into the reality of this moment, this very moment. That's what Zazen is all about. It's what practice delivers. Delivers us to where we already were. Hakuin also says, from the very beginning, all beings are Buddha. There's a koan where a monk asks Master Hogen, he tells him, my name is Echo, what is Buddha? Hogen says, you are Echo. Until this sinks in, we habitually look past this moment. Just a way of being for most people in the world. Constantly and unconsciously trying to move from here to then. What's next? What do I need to prepare for? What do I need to accomplish? What do I need to avoid? Do I have to ward off or get? It's very hard to interrupt that habitual leaning forward into an imagined future, because it is imagined, obviously. All there is this right now. And when that imagined future arrives, it'll be this, right now. I want to read something. It was some material that I had hoped to get to the last Teisho. As usual, I underestimated what I had to do. And it's something written by a guy named Oliver Burkeman. He's an interesting guy. I read actually one Teisho a while back. Gave on a book he wrote called 4,000 Weeks. 4,000 is about approximately the number of weeks that you get in a fairly long human life. It's not that many, is it? He's kind of specializes in developing good habits and learning to be productive, and and yet, inevitably, because he's serious about it, he stumbles onto some of the basic truths of Buddhism and of Zen, one of which is we're going to die. So 4,000 weeks, I did a little calculation, and I've already used mine up. I'm in overtime right now. So this is a really interesting little piece of his, and it's entitled, "What If You Never Sort Your Life Out?" He says the author and podcaster Sam Harris recalls being in the middle of a long session of moaning to a friend about all the crap he was dealing with at the time when she interrupted him. "Hold on," she said, or words to this effect. "Are you still under the illusion that you'll one day reach a point in your life where you no longer have any problems?" And he says, Oliver Burkeman says, "It's a question most of us could do with asking ourselves. I think virtually everyone, except perhaps the very Zen or very old," even I am not Zen and old enough, "goes through life haunted to some degree by the feeling that this isn't quite the real thing, not just yet, that soon enough we'll get everything in working order, get organized, get our personal issues resolved, but that till then we're living what the great Swiss psychologist Marie-Louise Wolframs called the provisional life." And then he quotes from her, "There is a strange feeling that one is not yet in real life. For the time being, one is doing this or that, but there is always the fantasy that sometime in the future the real thing will come about." And, believe it or not, this error of thinking, this error of being, is something that as a Zen student we're really kind of susceptible to, because that carrot is out in front of us, coming to awakening, radically changing the nature of our lives. It's very hard not to be getting out in front of ourselves when we have something difficult, meaningful, valuable that we're trying to do. And of course, it's not the only important thing in our lives. Lots of other secondary things that are also quite important. He says most of our attempts to become better people, fitter and healthier, more moral / productive / organized, and so forth, make this problem worse, because it's basically impossible to pursue any program of personal change without the thought, somewhere in the back of your mind, that successfully completing the change will catapult you into a new and somehow realer kind of existence. In recent years, for example, there's been an explosion of books on habit change, most of which take a splendidly down-to-earth approach, focusing on the importance of taking tiny, incremental steps. Yet they rarely escape the trap of implying that once a habit has been implemented, it'll become totally automatic, and life's suffering, at least in that domain, will have ended for good. Now, in workshops, we warn people that while it's possible to have a deep and meaningful insight that will change your life, it's not going to solve all your problems. Life doesn't stop messing with you because you've had an insight, because we all fall back on old patterns. It's a saying in Japan, somewhere the Buddha is still working on himself. Not sure if all Buddhists would subscribe to that, but it's certainly true that even a Zen master, I'm talking about a Zen master with a deep realization still needs to work on himself. Roshi was really fond of telling the story of Harada Roshi, who, this is Roshi Kapleau, who confided to him that he had always had a problem with anger, explosive anger, felt that he might have killed someone eventually if he had not gotten into Zen practice. Well, he worked very hard. He did have an enlightenment experience, and he said it took 10 more years before he felt free of his anger. There's no get-out-of-jail-free card that's going to relieve us from just the difficulties of life, difficult people, difficult choices. We're never going to stop being liable to having stupid thoughts, being caught up in our own image. We trip up all the time. Advanced students do, beginners do. So it's good to sort of drop the idea that somehow I'm going to catapult myself into some new marvelous land. There can certainly be marvelous things that happen. But there's a book I've mentioned before that I really like the title of, and I like the book as well, written by a guy named Dan Harris. It's called 10% Happier. If you're a person who's miserable, it's not going to go away overnight. But it does get better. It gets better without our trying to manage it from the top down. The whole secret of practice is letting go of our agenda, letting go of looking ahead, attending to what's actually already here. Doesn't require our manufacturing it. And just by doing that again and again, letting go of our anxiety, letting go of our anticipation, coming back to this, plain and simple, things begin to change. One of the first things that changes is we become more willing to come back to what's real. We catch ourselves leaning into the future, the imagined future, and instead of beating ourselves up about it, we just settle back. It's an invitation. Take a breath. See what's here. Everything functions without our having to make it function. Think of animals or young children, not burdened by thought, not mapping out their lives. Think of the joy you see in a puppy or a child. In a fawn, where our neighborhood is littered with deer. There's been quite the population explosion. And I've seen them sometimes, the young fawns, pronging on my driveway. You know how they prong, they leap off of all four hooves at once. Boink, boink, boink. Just beautiful. Makes you laugh. I mentioned that phrase, 10% better, to someone, and they said to me, well, maybe, not 10% better, 10% happier. And they said, well, maybe 10% less unhappy. So coming back to Oliver Burkeman, they rarely escape from the trap of implying that once a habit's been implemented, it'll become totally automatic, and life's suffering, at least in that domain, will have ended for good. And then he goes on, this error of thought might be fine if it didn't detract from the quality of the life you're experiencing right now, but it does. A person locked in such a mindset, as John Maynard Keynes put it, quote, does not love his cat, but only his cat's kittens. Nor in truth the kittens, but only the kitten's kittens, and so on forward forever to the end of catdom. Actually, loving a cat is something he never seems to get around to. He says, one antidote is to allow yourself to imagine what it might feel like to know you'll never fully get on top of your work, never become a really disciplined exerciser or healthy eater, never resolve the personal issue you feel defines your life's troubles. What if I'll always feel behind with my email? What if listening attentively to other people will always take the weird amount of effort that it seems to take now? What if that annoying thing my partner does annoys me to the end of my days? Or as someone said, what if this is it? What if this is my life? He says, meditation provides a useful model here because most meditation teachers acknowledge explicitly that stopping thinking isn't really the goal. Instead, falling off the wagon by getting distracted, then getting back on by returning to the breath or whatever your practice is, to the koan, is the whole game. It's really it. Bodhin Roshi is fond of saying the brain is an organ that secretes thoughts. We're never going to be free permanently of thoughts. We may have moments, but thoughts come into the mind. And so much of practice is, what do we do with them? Do we notice? Do we believe them? Do we react to them? Do we follow up with some sort of argument? Thought comes into the mind, I'm really bad at this. What do you do with that? No, I'm good at this. Oh, geez, there I go again. It's seeing that thought is actually fortunate. When you notice it, that's good. It's like, oh, yeah, this. The bell. You always have that ability to return to reality. You don't have to get hooked. So it is most of the game. It's falling off the wagon, getting back on. He says, going beyond meditation, one might reframe other things this way too. Your goal as a runner needn't be to get to a place where it's effortless to set off at 6:30 a.m. day after day. It could just be to get better and better every time you skip a morning and stay in bed and starting again the next day. Or I would say, it might be better to just get up. As a friend of mine once said, I could pay my taxes if I only had the right drugs. We spend so much time trying to cajole ourselves into the right state of mind so we can do something difficult, when in fact, you can just do it. It's your wanting to do it freely and smoothly and well that prevents you from starting. The perfect becomes the enemy of the good. Now he says something interesting. He says, when I let myself be permeated by this thought that I might be stuck with certain inner disturbances forever, I definitely feel a bit of peevishness in response. Wait, I'm never going to get to the problem-free phase? That's not what I signed up for. But then comes the sense of a heavy burden having been lifted. The pressure's off. I get to unclench, relax, and fall back into the life I'm actually living. Far from this being dispiriting, I find myself much more motivated to get stuck in. It turns out my really big problem was thinking I might one day get rid of all my problems. When the truth is, there's no escaping the mucky, malodorous compost heap of this reality. Which is okay, actually. Compost is the stuff that helps things grow. Yeah, that feeling of this shouldn't be happening, this isn't fair, this is a failure. Joko Beck said, what makes it unbearable is your mistaken belief it can be cured. Here's another place where Berkman quotes John Tarrant, the Zen teacher, saying that quote that I trotted out a little while ago. He says, John Tarrant says, freedom, waking up, and fearlessness come down to the simplicity of, wait a minute, what if this is it? And then Berkman says, when I hear such exhortations to live in the moment, the fresh start addict in me is quite capable of turning them into perfectionistic plans too. From tomorrow morning, I'll meditate every single day and become the kind of person who lives in the moment. Something wrong there. But Tarrant's point isn't that you should live in the moment tomorrow. It's that this is it, right now, with all its odious imperfections. The tasks that remain unaddressed, the messes that haven't been cleared up, the enormous personality flaws that still haven't been corrected. And it's the only place I can ever hope to get anything meaningful done. A lot of it is just a question of just doing, versus evaluating. We are addicted to evaluation, to good and bad. And for many people, that becomes just an automatic reaction. Anytime they run into heavy weather and they're sitting, they start criticizing themselves. There's a chant we do that goes, the great way is not difficult for those who do not pick and choose. When preferences are cast aside, the way stands clear and undisguised. When you drop it, suddenly you fall back into your life. Something that becomes easier and easier to do is one of the most wonderful things about practice. Realizing that at any moment, I can just settle back into this. Don't have to make excuses. Don't have to pretend I'm someone that I'm not. Someone who's not pretending they're someone they're not is a pretty remarkable person, because we're set up in this world to present our best side, to look good. Spend so much time spinning our wheels, wasting our time doing that. When you drop being good enough, then you can actually get to work. So, talking about our many failings and the mistaken ways we try to address them leads me inevitably to Anthony DeMello. When will I ever get beyond Anthony DeMello? Tells a little anecdote. Did you hear about the lawyer who was presented with a plumber's bill? Said to the plumber, "Hey, you're charging me $200 an hour. I don't make that kind of money as a lawyer." The plumber said, "I didn't make that kind of money when I was a lawyer either." You could be a plumber or a lawyer or a businessman or a priest, but that does not affect the essential I. It doesn't affect you. If I change my profession tomorrow, it's just like changing my clothes. I am untouched. Are you your clothes? Are you your name? Are you your profession? Stop identifying with them. They come and go. Could say, are you your accomplishments? When you really understand this, no criticism can affect you. No flattery or praise can affect you either. Let's aim at that. When someone says you're a great guy, what is he talking about? He's talking about me, in quotes. He's not talking about I. I is neither great nor small. I is neither successful nor a failure. None of these labels. These things come and go. These things depend on the criteria society establishes. These things depend on your conditioning. These things depend on the mood of the person who happens to be talking to you right now. It has nothing to do with I. It's nothing to do with our true self, our true nature. It says, I is none of these labels. Me is generally selfish, foolish, childish, a great big ass. So when you say you're an ass, I've known it for years. The conditioned self, what did you expect? I've known it for years. Why do you identify with him? That isn't I. That's me. What a relief to get out of that game. So much more solid, so much more organic, just healthy. Here I am. Sometimes I'm an idiot, sometimes I'm helpful. It's okay. We all have this practice which delivers us to what's real. Just have to do it. It's so much easier to do if you're not measuring. A little bit of measuring is good, maybe. It's nice to notice when some habits have eased off or gotten a little better, and it's good to notice if you're doing things that make life more difficult for yourself or for other people. But the habitual, never-ending, anxious leaning into the future, trying to get what you like and avoid what you don't like, to let that go is just a huge relief. Might even become 15% happier. Bodhin Roshi is fond of saying Zen is a school of direct experience. That's what this moment is, the direct experience. Just hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, feeling. The more you do that, the more you step out of the fire of your expectations, your self-criticism, the more relief you'll feel. It's true, what we have to do, what we do in Zen practice is not easy. It's hard. Don't believe anybody who tells you it's going to be easy. Some switch that's going to get thrown and everything's going to flow. It's always bumpy. But when you're just working with things right now and not casting your eye over the shoulder of the person you're talking to, so to speak, it's doable, it's workable. The Thai forest master Ajahn Brahm, a guy who wrote a book called Kindfulness, says, when you are the control freak who treats your mind like a slave, no wonder your mind always tries to escape from you. It will think of useless memories, plan something that will never happen, fantasize or fall asleep. Anything to get away from you. That is why you can't keep still. You're a control freak. And then he goes on, when you treat your mind with kindfulness, I guess that's a combination of mindfulness and kindness, your mind does not want to wander off anywhere. It likes your company. You hang out together, chilling out, for far longer than you ever expected. Little gentleness goes a long way. It's like working with children. If your first move is criticism, browbeating, it doesn't work well. Eckhart Tolle said something along these lines. He's, of course, the guy who wrote The Power of Now, so we're in his territory here. He said, most humans are never fully present in the now because unconsciously they believe that the next moment must be more important than this one. But then you miss your whole life, which is never not now. It's not surprising that we're focused on the future. That's how we're programmed. It's the people who made it to have children and pass their genetic heritage on were people who avoided dangerous things. They looked ahead. And we have to do a certain amount of that. But we're trying to live in a civilization with a hunter-gatherer's brain, and it doesn't always fit. The Chinese Zen master Lin Chi said, just put thoughts to rest and don't seek outwardly anymore. When things come up, then give them your attention. Just trust what is functional in you at present, and you have nothing to be concerned about. It's amazing how well you can live just doing what's right in front of you. I want to finish with a passage from John Tarrant. Go back to him for a moment. It says, long ago and far from here, a pilgrim was traveling in the hills. His thoughts were like clouds and dreams. He forgot to think. Since there wasn't anyone to think, he became lost in his walking. He rounded a bend, and on the opposite wall of the canyon there was a peach tree in blossom. The blossoms were white with crimson in the center. No veil separated him from them, and suddenly the peach blossoms were him. The tree, the river, the birds, and even the sunlight, the morning cold, everything was peach blossoms. And he laughed out loud. His name was Ling Yun, and he wrote, "For 30 years I searched for a master swordsman. How many times did the leaves fall and the branches burst into bud? But from the moment I saw the peach blossoms, I've had no doubts." And Terence says, it can be a shock, the heart coming forth. Anything that we meet is a peach blossom. An email about cancer, a phone call, the winter moonrise. When we truly meet any part of the universe, we recognize it. It feels like I'm seeing my own face. The things I thought I needed to be happy, I don't need. I don't need the perfectly respectable life that everyone wants. Mainly, I don't need to know what happens next. My own life is an unknown path through peach blossoms. Reminds me of that quote from Krishnamurti. He's giving a talk once, I've told this story before, and asked his audience, "Do you want to know what my secret is?" And everyone leaned forward to hear. Said, "I don't mind what happens." That's truly the spirit of Zen. Just saying yes to our life. Good, bad, indifferent. Just to be here for all of it. Not looking forward to a day when we'll be here for all of it, but now, as best we can. With all beings settling into this life. Well, our time is up. Stop now and recite the 4 vows.